Pro Basketball Manager 2024. Is it going to be a win or a bin? Let's have a quick read through of the description on Steam. Welcome to Pro Basketball Manager 2024, the best basketball management experience offering unparalleled depth and authenticity across 175 elite basketball competitions. Show the world you're the ultimate basketball manager. This is a bit of a weird one for me in that I know absolutely nothing about basketball. I don't like the idea of basketball because it seems a bit boring, to be honest, and that's no disrespect to anyone who does. It just doesn't appeal to me. However, the bit that did appeal to me is that I like football. And of course, that makes no sense me saying that, but I am a fan of the Football Manager series. I have the latest one, Football Manager 2024, and it kind of in places in the screenshots I've seen of this game looks similar to Football Manager. So I thought, well, okay, so maybe I could teach myself how to understand basketball, and maybe this is a really good game. So I thought, why not? Let's review it anyway. So I'm going to go through some of the good things, and these are quite hard to come by in terms of any kind of good or bad things because I don't know whether or not they are doing basketball as a sport justice by the things you can do in the game. So I'm trying to look at this very much from an outside perspective, imagining I do understand basketball, and does it seem generally quite good and manageable in terms of the functionality of the game, not necessarily the level of detail in terms of the basketball knowledge, because of course I can't justify any of that. So I'll run through some things that I like and don't like and hopefully be able to explain my thoughts behind those. Okay, so when you start the game, you will have a look at the options menu. There's a few things you can do in the options menu, just change the units, which are actually quite important for me to have it down as British pounds and stones for weight and feet for height, that sort of thing. Just little things that are there that are great that you can change it to make it a bit more applicable to your needs. When you begin the game and you can pick the leagues you want to include, this is a positive. Now, there's so many countries that you can choose from and their leagues, respectively, male and female. And that is a great thing to begin with, so you are not stuck within one nation or a couple of nations. You can literally think of most countries in the world, and they are on here. So you've got what would be considered basketball nations, so China, America, you've got the Baltic states like Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, they're all there. So, you've got all the countries that you'd expect to see, but there's absolutely loads to choose from. It's a great choice. You can manage internationally and at domestic level, or one or the other, as far as I can tell. So, again, plenty of choice there too. Once you begin your season, you've got a really decent looking user interface, and it's easy to navigate. Everything's quite clear and concise. You can look at your finances, you could look at your staff recruitment, you can go and look at your player recruitment, you've got your email tray. There's just most things that you could think of as a manager that you need. Things like training, of course, individual training. It's all there. Some things do double up a little bit, so you can click on one thing and find yourself in the same place as you would if you click on something somewhere else. But generally speaking, it does look quite nice. If you like your stats, there's plenty of stats to dig into. Staff has stats, players have stats, clubs have stats, nations have stats. Most things in this has stats. And when you're playing a match, you can look at stats, real-time stats, to see how you're doing. So plenty to get your teeth stuck into if stats are your sort of thing. I do like the way that you can actually customize a lot of your match day experience. You can decide whether or not you pay a lot for your cheerleaders. They can be amateur, professional. Same for your announcers. You can have stalls. You can decide how much you're charging for your food and drink. You can actually decide how much you charge for your ticket prices. And you can actually develop parts of your stand. So there's a lot going on here. It's like you are very much in charge of the whole basketball club. When you do eventually start to play games, you can see its 3D engine. Now, it's not spectacular. In fact, it's not amazing in the slightest, but I think it does a job. It is very cartoony. However, all the players are illustrated. The pitch, they call it? No, it's a court, isn't it? Of course it is. The court looks detailed enough. I assume it's what a basketball court looks like. And the fans in the terraces, they look pretty decent as well, to be quite honest with you, and it does a good enough job. It's not going to win awards, it's not great, but for what it is, it illustrates where your players are, where they're shooting from, their movements. Isn't that just what you need? I can only assume that's absolutely fine. During those matches, there's lots of camera angles to choose from, but there's also so much tactical things you can do. You can shout instructions at individuals, the team. You've got offensive tactics, defensive tactics. There's timeouts, which I don't understand. But yeah, you can do timeouts and things like that. So for a point of view of not understanding basketball in the slightest, it looks like there's a lot here overall within the match, within non-match days, loads and loads and loads of things that you can do and look at. Now, I'm only going to give this one negative, but for me, it's absolutely humongous. And I don't feel like I can give it any more negatives because I don't understand the sport. But this one is very generic. There is no tutorial or manual. Yes, if you click on one of the screens for the first time in the game, it does pop up with a very small text box that explains vaguely what you do in that screen. And in fact, it does say if you go to help and click on somewhere else, you can see something in more detail, but I can't find this help screen. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm just not finding it, then do tell me. But if it's not obvious enough for me to find it myself, then it's not in the right place. So I'm going with the premise that there is no proper tutorial here or manual. There needs to be one, or you are alienating people from the game that do not understand the sport. Football Manager, going back to that comparison, has a very good tutorial in it for people who don't necessarily follow football but want to do the tactical side. The tutorial is great in that. It seems non-existent in this. I don't know what the positions mean. I don't know what the stats mean. I don't know what anything means in this, but I went into this hoping to learn something. I wanted to be taught how to play, to understand what these things meant in the world of basketball. But absolutely nothing. The game is not encouraging anybody to learn something that they do not know something about at all. And that for me is a huge negative. If there was something better in this that allowed you to learn, then it would be fantastic. I'd be picking things up, I'd be understanding what I was doing, I could get more engrossed and immersed into the experience, but unfortunately I just can't. I'm blindly, as you'll see in the video, just clicking through screens. I'm not doing tactics, I'm not doing training, I don't know what I'm doing. I'd be willing to learn, but there is no opportunity to learn. There's nothing online on the developer's website. Again, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot get the assistance I need to understand this game and to get its full capacity out. I'm not going to actually give this a negative review because I think it's good. I think it's good because of all the things I've said before. But the only thing that I can't be sure about is, does it fulfill the simulation of basketball or the management of basketball? That I cannot answer. However, being reasonable and not being closed-minded, because it's a sport I don't follow, I would not want to slam this as an overall review and say it's a terrible, terrible game, because I actually think it's probably quite good. But the thing that lets it down is that lack of tutorial or manual. Maybe it could be introduced, or someone could just tell me I'm wrong and just tell me where it is, and I'd happily concede I'm wrong. Definitely a game that I would say is good if you like basketball. If you don't like basketball or don't understand basketball, you're not likely to learn it, and you're not likely to get engrossed into the game as you would if you were a basketball fan.